But now, your calls on something different. Should we stop jailing criminal mothers? 0207 862 2222 is the number to give us a ring for this one. This is according to The Telegraph. The Prisons Minister, Lord Timpson, is off to Spain to find out more about a tagging system that they use over there. Prisoners are released early and monitored electronically. It's particularly used for women with children. So is this something that we should look at employing over here perhaps? Would you like to see criminal mothers spared jail so that they can stay with their children? Henry?
Where possible, yes. Currently, there are around 192,000 children who have a parent in jail, usually a father, but often a mother. And we know from stats that 60% of children who have a parent in jail, whether it's a mother or father, end up in jail themselves. We want to stop recidivism. Now, Lord Timpson, when he was James Timpson, was running the famous Timpson family business, and they did a great deal of work with prisoners, people who had been released and got into work. It's very, very hard to get a job when you have a criminal record. And he is the ideal person to take on this prisons minister portfolio. And if the Spanish have a scheme that is working and where the recidivism rate, so the rate of reoffending, has gone down to 30%, whereas in our country, the recidivist rate is 60%, then it's something we should look at. And women are still the primary carers, mothers are primary carers. And if we can find a way of letting people serve a portion of their sentence out in the community, using electronic tagging and all the sophisticated ways we have of monitoring someone's behaviour, then why not? And let's remember also, something like 50 or so % of women who are in jail have been abused, often by a male partner, or have some other difficulties like substance abuse, etc. So I believe prison works to a degree and for certain categories of prisoners, but if the scheme in Spain is better, is sustainable and can keep women out of prison, let's look at it.
But if we want to stop this being a generational problem whereby children of parents that have been in prison end up spending time in prison themselves, we'll have to offer this out to the dads as well, Carol.
Well, and wouldn't that be ridiculous? You know, I mean, let's get real about this. There's only 3,600 women in prison.
Ooh, I think it's more than that. It's about 5,000.
No, it isn't. It's 3,600, and it's gone up about. It's about, the figure's about to go up this year by about 400. But compare that to the male prison population, which is 88,000. So we're not flinging women in jail willy-nilly. If you're a woman and you go to prison now, it's for a very serious offence or for serial offending, and it is also a fact that 6 out of 10 women serve less than 6 months in jail. So now, but my argument would be here: if you're a mother and you are committing serious offences and you're a serial offender, well, think about your kids. Being a mum shouldn't be literally a get out of jail free card. I mean, absolutely not, because that would mean that every woman who is a mother could claim she shouldn't go to prison. It can't be the case. There has to be a deterrent for both men and women. And I don't think this country is particularly harsh on women. The main offences that they're sent away for, 32% fraud, 21% is for theft. And yes, I'm sure there are some mothers who are stealing to feed their kids, but that's not the majority. You know, we had a lady on this show the other week saying, people don't steal that, they steal booze, they steal the expensive stuff. So it's, you know, I don't think we can have a situation where women aren't criminalised for any reason, because that is an insult to the victims of their crimes.
OK, we'll go to the calls. Ian from North Ayrshire, what's your thoughts on women spending time in jail and actually whether it would be better to electronically tag them so they can be at home and looking after their children?
I think I share most of Carol's points. The bench at large does not lightly send a woman or a mother to prison because there's social implications for looking after their children. And if there's an absent father, that's not uncommon. However, there's tagging, there's community sentences to do work in the community as another form of disposing of the case. So it's incremental. When all these other more social and caring penalties have gone through, and they're all ignored or not carried out to the letter that the law has asked them to do, it shows that they're irresponsible. So,
but Ian, don't you think? Sorry, Ian. If the current regime is producing a recidivism rate of 60%. It's one of the highest in Europe. If you look at the States, it's even worse, but we don't want to be like the States. we want to try and be a modern, thoughtful European country, and if there's an example in Spain which is working and the recidivist rate has been reduced to 30%, including for female prisoners, then shouldn't we at least consider it?
Yeah. Actually, I sorry, interrupt you.
So,
I agree that we should look at further options and perhaps learn from the wider European example that you've just quoted, the Spanish example. Now, that is making it, as long as the person's compliant with that sentence, and it gives them an opportunity to reform and change their behaviour.
But
I just want to confirm your view on this one, because I've got a bit confused as we've been talking. I feel like you started saying, you were agreeing with Carole, basically saying a criminal is a criminal. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. You can't just say you don't get a prison sentence because you're a mother. That would be ridiculous.
Well, I didn't quite say that.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to surmise, but I'll give you another chance, Carole.
Carole doesn't want to be taken
And
as extreme.
now you're saying that we need to take a...
My point is that the bench don't rush to put a woman or a mother in prison. It's incremental. I said that. Right?
Yes.
Can I just comply with the law? The bench doesn't have an opportunity other than to remove the woman from the streets, where in fact she's hell bent on criminality.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, if it's something like fraud, then she doesn't pose a danger immediately to the general public or to.
But
to
if you're
the
a serial thief, it does.
Okay, but
I mean,
I wonder whether the crime matters then on this.
I think Ian put a point before where he was saying that if the women would comply, then I think that's the problem. If you're a mother and you have kids to look after, how can you be doing sentences within the community? Because that poses another problem in itself. Who's going to look after your kids if you're a single mom or whatever?
At school.
Well, maybe, but it's a problem, isn't it? If you've got one or more kids.
I do wonder whether the reason that that they're looking into this policy is because of affordability. If a woman goes to jail, who is looking after her children? Because oftentimes they are single parents, and then that means that the child goes into child services, foster services, which is incredibly expensive.
And there is a terrible,
the numbers
looked after. Sorry, Carole, but the percentage of children who end up in prison. Well, there's a huge number that come through the state looked after care system, which doesn't help them with their education.
Doesn't entitle them to commit
There is a looked after to
crimes,
prison
Henry.
pipeline, and we want to try and stop the next generation.
But just because someone has been brought up in care, and that must be a terrible thing, it doesn't entitle you to be a criminal. It really doesn't.
No, but what I'm trying to do is trying to stop this at source.
And we know the calls have touched on, and I did too. The women who are sent to jail, there's a much lower custody rate for women who've committed, what's the name for them, indictable offences, which are the most serious category of offences. Women very rarely get sent to prison for this. So let's not pretend we're chucking women away. The women who are in jail just now are women, and the majority have committed really serious crimes. They cannot be let off scot-free with a little bit of community service, because then you're not going to stop the crime.